How's it going again, folks? CyberDen again. Today I'm going to be giving you a little bit of an overview of what's been going on with those custom water blocks that I've been working on, successes, the failures, and an overall result, and then I'll give you my final impressions as always. So instead of dragging things along, let's just get right into it. Okay, first things first. I gotta give credit where credit is due. This is not an original idea by me. I got this idea from another guy on YouTube. Go ahead and look up Grant Thompson and his awesome videos on doing metal working, like melting metal and how to make all this kind of cool stuff. He's got a lot of cool content on his channel. Make sure you go and check him out. I'll see if I can put a link in the description so you guys can get there a little bit easier. But basically the concept is you can go to the craft store and you can buy sheets of styrofoam board. They come in different thicknesses, and their intended use is for like arts and crafts, and say like you like to catch butterflies and you want to display them. You got a little styrofoam board with a piece of paper over the top of it. You can stick your pin through the bug and then into that thing, and put a neat little label and stuff like that on it. But what you can also do is you can tear off that paper sheet, that paper covering on both sides. Then you're left with a sheet of just plain old styrofoam board. And what you can do is you can cut it up into pieces and layer it, and then you can, pretty basically make whatever it is that you want to make out of metal into this. And then basically what you do after that is you bury it in sand, you melt your metal, you pour your metal in, and then the molten metal disintegrates the styrofoam on contact, and the metal then takes its place. You let it cool, you take it out, and then after that you have basically a rough metal image of whatever it is that you're trying to create, like a water block. Obviously there's going to be some sanding and some refining after it's done, but that's the basic concept. So let's go over the steps that I took. So here's the mono block that I was trying to create for the ASRock motherboard. I wanted to cool the CPU and the chipset and the power regulators all on one block, because there is not one available for this motherboard. So I made it out of the styrofoam. I then used an X-Acto knife and cut out the water channels for it. I was planning on, after it was done, to cut the fins in that square port in the section so the water would come in, take the heat away, and then it would leave. And then of course you put a little bit of sand in a bucket. You place your object in the bucket with those extra pieces sticking out, so that way there's something for the water, for the molten metal to flow through. And then you continue to fill it up, and you completely fill up the bucket. Now what this does is those things that are sticking up out of there, you can go ahead and pour your molten metal in there, and that gives it a passageway for the metal to get down into your copy. Now I was going to start out with some copper pipe that I bought from Home Depot, a cast steel pipe with a cap on one end for my crucible, to the thing that you're going to be actually melting the metal in. Which, here we go, that ended up not working out this way because I couldn't get it to heat up evenly all the way around, and I ended up, to be honest, burning a hole in the bottom of it. So yeah, that didn't turn out as well as planned, but it was one step in the right direction. I then went up to the grocery store and I bought a cast iron frying pan and tried to melt the metal that way. The problem with that was, again, I couldn't keep everything melted all in one location. As soon as I moved the fire to a new location, the molten metal re-hardened and I just couldn't even it out. And I ended up with this hodgepodge ugly mess. I ended up basically welding it to the pan in one spot. And apparently copper you cannot heat more than so many times before you have to begin adding minerals to it. It just will not remelt. So I went another step forward, as Grant Thompson suggested, to go ahead and make the foundry. Basically that's a mixture of play sand, plaster of Paris, and water. And the bottle in the middle of it is to give an area where you pour your charcoal and you put your crucible in there. And then you use a shop vac to blow air in, and that stokes the fire, creating extreme heat. And I'm going to tell you, that stuff got really, really hot. Everything got red hot in there when I was doing that. But basically, you have to drill a hole through the side so you can put a piece of pipe in there and hook your shop vac up to it. And this is basically just a dry run to see what would happen. And it got 512 degrees Fahrenheit to 667 degrees Fahrenheit in a matter of about, say, 30 seconds. It was that hot. It just kept getting hotter and hotter and hotter, which that ended up failing, so I went another route because the copper couldn't be melted. This is some copper wire that a friend gave to me. I got everything all set, ready to go. Got both of the water blocks in there, stoking the fire, got some copper pipe and wire in there. Now halfway through melting my copper, unfortunately I used the crucible too many times and burned a hole in it, and all of my copper spilled out into the charcoal. It was a very disappointing moment, and it was because of this I've already put out enough money. Well, actually Capital One has put out enough money, so I'm going to be chasing after another avenue for this. So we're going to call this a successful failure, if you will, if that makes any sense. I know oxymorons are not exactly the best way to go about it, but it basically would have worked. The copper was melting, it was glowing red and it was bubbling, and I got about half of my copper in there, and then that was when it burned a hole in the crucible and all the metal spilled out into the charcoal. So had I had a new piece of pipe, then it would have worked. It would have been successful. I'm confident that it would have. So again, I've already put out enough money on this project. I'm not willing to try it again. However, I will not admit defeat. I will be trying it again. However, on Grant Thompson's website, he also goes over how to make a propane setup for this, which cuts your cost down, makes it easier to use, and it's a lot more efficient than using charcoal and a shop vac. So I will be attempting that in the future sometime, probably close through the summertime. I'll probably be trying that out. But as my final chance, it is tax season, folks. So for the tax holiday, I've decided it is time for Cyberden Systems to acquire a tabletop CNC machine. I'm very, very excited to get it. I should be having the money within the next week or two, so I'll be ordering that. And what that offers to me is the ability I could actually just buy a block of copper from my local metal guy, and I can actually CNC the block myself. I'm experienced with the acrylics, so I can make an acrylic top. I found out how to do my nickel plating, so I'll be doing that as well. And what that will offer to all of you guys, the rest of the community, is let's say, for example, you have a GTX 950 graphics card. No one makes a water block for that. Why? It's not exactly an avenue that most companies would want to invest money in, because one, the 950 isn't really the greatest overclocker, it doesn't get hot, it's kind of a mid-ish range to lower end graphics card. So the only real reason that you would want to water cool your GTX 950 is purely for aesthetics. I love the way that water cooling looks. I will never have an air-cooled computer. I water cool everything. That little tiny NAS that I had in the Cooler Master 130 Elite case was fully water cooled. There's always a way to water cool something, and I will always find a way. So for the rest of the community that has those and nobody makes a water block for it, and you want that look of water cooling, I'll be able to make you a water block, and I'm not going to charge you, $150 because no one makes a water block for that. So I'm going to sell them for $1 million because I'm the only person you have to turn to. No, I'll charge final pricing will be in a future video, but I'll probably charge like whatever my cost of materials was plus say $20 for my troubles, and plus shipping of course. But that will be coming shortly in a few weeks. I'm going to end out this video now because hopefully tonight or maybe tomorrow the next video will be up. We're going to be doing some vacuum forming, and it's going to be great. Today I'm going to be vacuum forming the radiator and fan assembly, give it a nice cool looking shroud for the Mini-Itx build. And so make sure you guys hit that subscribe button because it's coming either tonight or tomorrow, and you're going to want to catch that. It's going to be awesome. I'm also going to be vacuum forming the motherboard and the graphics card as soon as those water blocks are ready. So stay tuned, there's more coming, and we'll see you next time. Den out.